Lore. For some WoW players, the very word might summon visions of high school history class. And here's a trigger warning. It could sound something like this. Chapter 1, Mythos. Origins. Before life began, before even the cosmos took shape, there was light, and there was void. Let's skip ahead. Chapter 3, Ancient Kalimdor. For generation after generation, life bloomed across the ordered world of Azeroth. Don't skip to your next podcast just yet. This is not a lore episode. But I do have for you an interview with a lore podcaster. Rather than droning on as if poorly preparing you for an upcoming exam, my guest today injects life into his two lore-focused endeavors. Maybe you would like to hear your lore like this, focused on one or two topics at a time.
We don't really know what goes into becoming a demon hunter, but at least we have more information, because it's usually like, here, eat a demon. And if you get corrupted and taken over by the demon, you lose. But if you win, yay, you're a demon hunter now.
Hooray.
Yay. You gotta rip your own eyeballs out, though, so.
I don't think it's fine.
There's just that one little thing I forgot to tell you.
Really cool looking blindfold, some tattoos. It'll be cool. Make up for it.
Yeah, but you do have to go pokey pokey.
Or maybe YouTube is your thing and you would like a guided tour through Azerothian time.
Now, the Black Dragon aspect, Neltharion, was hanging out in his lair and playing with his new bright and shiny golden disc, the Dragon Soul. It seems to be pretty powerful too, because it absorbed not just a demon's essence or power, but the whole ass demon. Now, a few moments later, Alexstrasza gave him a little call saying, "Hey, Neltharion, shit's going down over here in Night Elf Town. We gotta do something." Alexstrasza, I got a lot of stuff going on right now, but I'll be there soon.
Stay tuned. There is no lecture, no test, no homework, no boring teacher, I promise you. Today, Solo Q asks podcast and video creator Jin, how do you solo? Welcome to How Do You Solo, a Solo Cube bonus episode where I interview people from across the Warcraft community. Thanks for joining me. My name's Dave Gagne. Welcome to Solo Q episode 10. That's right, we have hit double digits. This is a big deal, and to celebrate moving into a second digit, I have a second voice with me for this second interview show, the series that I like to call How Do You Solo. My guest should be a familiar voice to many of you out in WoW podcast land, and if not, hopefully we can get you turned around on that. He started a podcast at the start of 2019 focused on the lore of Warcraft. More than 150 episodes later, Morley Gray gave way to a collaboration with a rival solo lore podcaster, Ali Andres. Perhaps the innocently named Live Laugh Lore was born from a vicious corporate merger in the WoW lore industry. Let's find out as I welcome to the Solo Queue the co-host of Live Laugh Lore, the sole proprietor and bartender at Jin's Joint, a runner of marathons, a lover of trees, and one of the best beards in Warcraft podcasting community. No, I think so. It's Jin. Welcome, Jin.
Hi. How's it going?
It goes well. Welcome to Solo Q, and hey, glad you're here.
Yeah, me too. This will be fun.
Yeah. Well, let's start at, there are many beginnings in all of this, but let's start at one of them. How did you find World of Warcraft, and how did it get its hooks in you? Where did that start?
World of Warcraft, how did that begin? All right, well,
Really, it started with Warcraft 2 is where I started playing. Think I was in, that would have been fourth, maybe fifth grade. Yeah, probably fourth or fifth grade. Mm-hmm. And I think Warcraft 2 came out, and I started playing it with my friend. We were playing it up on a dial-up modem, like literally having to set it up to call each other in the modem. You know, it was great. And we got all set up, and we were playing Gardens of War so much that we racked up a $90 phone bill because we were far enough apart that there was this thing called a toll charge because, the 90s were great, everyone. Yeah, it was
kids, it used to be if you called someone more than like 20 miles from your house, you had to pay a long distance charge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what happened. So luckily we figured out a workaround so we could keep playing Warcraft 2.
Nice.
And then Warcraft 3 obviously came out because that's a great game. And I've always been honestly, like one of the biggest things that's always drawn me to games is the story. So Warcraft 3 was like, hey, remember that Warcraft 2? There's Warcraft 1 where it was like, hey, these humans don't like these orcs that came in here. And like that was kind of the story. They're like, hey, how about we actually give some personality and inject all this other stuff into the story? And there's this guy named Arthas that he's a really good guy with blonde hair. Oh wait, that's a trope that I've seen before. Oh no, he's the paladin that went bad. So yeah, so Warcraft 3 came along. That was wonderful. And then World of Warcraft was announced, obviously, where I think it kind of came out in PC Gamers. I don't know. I wasn't into the MMO scene at the time. Yeah. And I was finally convinced to join World of Warcraft in Burning Crusade because when it first came out, I was broken in the Marines, and I didn't have I didn't have $15 a month to be wasted on this crap. So yeah, so I skipped the early days. I was given a trial, like a 30-day trial, because one of my now wife's cousin gave me it was like a DVD that was included in the collector's edition so he actually made the journey south since I am in California. He drove about 6 hours south to the Fry's Electronics opening, and he got himself a collector's edition box signed by the developers there, and that Fry's Electronics and all that. And yeah, it included a DVD, so I didn't have to install the game with the flip book of CDs. It was just one DVD, and I was like, it was pretty good, but my laptop couldn't play the game. It was terrible, so I didn't play. And then, right around the 2007-ish time frame, I built a PC that could actually handle it. And then one of my best friends growing up was like, well, I have a level 70 paladin. We're raiding Black Temple right now. I'm like, all right, I suppose I could give it a shot. So, because my best friend, he had moved across the country to Georgia, and I was like, oh, well, this would be a fun way to kind of keep up with them.
Right.
And and I'm still here.
2024, and
yeah, because that was in 2008. So
yeah. So your WoW career is a junior in high school.
Yeah, I suppose it is. Good Lord. All right. Make me feel old.
Don't worry, I can help you feel young again.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I was not in fifth grade when Warcraft 2 came out. Did you go back and play Warcraft 1?
I did play Warcraft 1, and they didn't quite get the balance of units right very well in Warcraft 1. It just wasn't as good of a game as Warcraft 2 was, because like if you just spawned archers, you pretty much won. Like, because the archers did the same amount of damage as like your grunts or whatever, and it was just you just build ranged units and you won in Warcraft 1. It was a much simpler game.
Yeah.
Warcraft 2, there was actually like almost like a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing to it.
Oh, interesting. I've played 1 a little bit. Probably 6 or 7 years ago. It's been a while, but not when it was current. And I've never played 2. I have played 3.
Yeah. Great.
So 2, now that it's on sale on the launcher, I already bought 1. I just have to click the button for Warcraft 2.
Yeah, 2's got the best music Warcraft has ever put out. Like the music from Warcraft 2 is still nostalgic. I put it at the end of every one of my YouTube videos now because I just love it so much. Like, so if you ever hear the Right, that little. That, for example, I'll actually tell you where you can hear the Warcraft 2 music in game. It's just been slightly altered.
Yeah.
Anytime you do a pet battle, all of that music is from the Warcraft 2 soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely like 8-bitty feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't do a ton of pet battling, but you're right. I
Neither
love
do
that. When that happens, like every now and then I'll click on something and then realize all my pets are dead and I never revive them. So I stop. But the music comes up and I'm like, oh, yeah, it takes me back, and I didn't even play in that area, but that whole era of music is just absolutely, what's the word? Iconic, really. That sound.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love that music.
Yeah, and it holds up for you. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, Warcraft 2 was one of those games back in the day where you could throw a CD at just a regular CD player, not like your CD-ROM.
Right.
And if you skipped the first track, it would play the music, because all the music from the game was just tracks on the CD, and then the data was the first track. So just skip that one really quick, because it was like, it was terrible. But the funny thing was the CD actually had a hidden track.
Yeah.
So if you skipped all the way, I think it was like the 13th or the 14th track. It was you can find it on YouTube now. It's called "I'm a Medieval Man," and it was the voice of the footman.
Yeah.
Just, I'm a medieval man. What do you want? What do you want? Why do you keep touching me? And then the orcs would chime in, Dabu, Dabu. It was great.
Kids today will have no idea of skipping forward like 89 times or whatever to get to the secret track on a 9 Inch Nail CD or whatever.
Dookie. That was my favorite hidden track on Green Day's Dookie.
Yeah.
I'm all by myself. I was looking.
I haven't thought of that song in forever. I don't have a CD of it anymore.
I think it's on Spotify. I think you can just listen to it.
Do they just include it at the end, like another?
Yeah, I think so. I know sometimes the track's just way longer than the actual song, so you just gotta listen, and you're like,
that's
the song's long now. Yeah, I think it's there.
It's funny how technology just changes, and there were all sorts of weird, I don't know, like it was totally different. We mentioned the stupid sounds of the internet on a dial-up. What even are those sounds? What were literally what technology job were they doing?
I have no idea what they were doing. I mean, if anything, it was just like letting you know that, hey, the computers are talking and your sister isn't trying to talk to like her friend or something, because you could hear that through the modem. Yeah. What is that noise? Jared, get off the computer. What are you doing?
The world is weirdly more simple now, but not better, maybe? I don't know.
It's different.
It's definitely different. When you're in game, what do you like to play? What race, what class, what combo?
I am a dwarven warrior. I have been since I joined back in 2008.
Yeah.
I mean, I dabbled with a couple other, classes and specs and things like that, trying to figure out what I wanted. And then I settled on the dwarven warrior. I don't know why I settled on him. I don't know. Lord of the Rings wasn't even that old of a movie at the time. So I was like, oh, Gimli's awesome. So I'll be like Gimli kind of thing. I don't know. So I stuck with that, and I just think he's awesome now. So I've always loved the whole dwarf aesthetic and things like that. So
you've got the beard, so that's good.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that character is in you, or the other way around? Like you are sort of in that character? Do you think of it that way?
I mean, not really. It's more like, for me, it's just like, I guess, like one small persona of myself kind of thing. It's not like, for example, if I were actually a class character, I'd probably be much more like maybe a rogue or maybe a ranger. I would not be the beefy, burly, like warrior up there in the front lines. It's not my build. Much more sleek and fast. Like that's kind of where my skill set is. I'm not a power lifter. I'm not beating people over the head with a club. So I don't know, I just think it's cool.
So are you taking out all your animosities of the real world on channeling them through your dwarven warrior? getting your
I don't
vengeance.
know, maybe he's pretty fun to play, especially especially when they eventually when they redid the rotation and emphasized haste over crit back in the day where it used to be. Mm-hmm. The gameplay is much more like twitchy. You're just like always pushing buttons super fast. I just like that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a good class to play.
Do you have a plan when you push all those buttons? Because I know I do not. I push a lot of buttons. I do,
because one of the things I do that is not solo is I do raids, and I do have to know what I'm doing there.
And how long have you been raiding? Like kind of the whole time? Because you mentioned Black Temple.
Yeah, I never raided like at all in BC. Like I joined BC really late, and they already had an established 25-man team. They were doing their thing, and I was like level 12, right? I was working my way up to 70 at the time.
I'm coming. I'll help you.
Yeah, I would not have been much help at first. It was very much like I don't even know what end of the sword to hold. Like I'm just. I didn't figure it out until Wrath is when. Yeah. So I actually kind of like quote unquote earned a spot on the core roster right around Ulduar is when I started raiding. Like I got invited when anyone, like I was on the bench. I was the second string. So I rarely got to raid most nights during Nax. Yeah. And like Sarth and all that, and Malagos. Those are the three that came out with Wrath at the time. But yeah, it was Ulduar when I finally got to actually was raiding on a regular basis and not just waiting at the entrance of the raid hoping for an invite. Yep. Those are the days. I do not miss those days. I'm very happy that it's flexible sizes now.
Were you in guilds then? Are you in guilds now? Like, did you have a sort of a steady social group, or?
I was in a guild back in the day, and I accidentally killed that guild. Oops. Yeah, it wasn't on purpose. I had to take a break from the game, but and when I stopped raiding, like they all stopped raiding. I was like, oops, I didn't mean to do that. That wasn't my intention, but. Oh, well.
No, guys, keep going.
I didn't know I was the glue holding this place together. But yeah, I was in my friend that got me into the game. I was in his guild. Yeah. That's the one I was in while I was leveling and all that kind of stuff. I was in that guild until Warlords because that's when I had to take a break because it was Warlords. I couldn't do friggin' whatever that was, the temple thing, blah, the one with the orcs and the stuff, and you kill Archimon at the end. I never remember the names of the raids. Yeah. But yeah. It was the one where they first introduced the friendship moose. I came back and I joined a new guild at the end, and I got my friendship moose when I finally got AOTC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. How has raiding changed since you started? Like better now or better then?
It's much better now. Like the improvements that they made over time with raiding is like big, stark differences. Number one, it's no longer 40 man like way back in the day. That's ridiculous. Like I don't even want to think about trying to coordinate 40 friggin' cats. Like no. 25 man was hard enough. We managed it, but it was not great. But if you didn't have the 21st person, you didn't have anyone on the bench show up, it's like, well, we could try, or we could split up into 2 10-mans, but does anyone else have a tank spec that they want to swap to? Like, it wasn't great. Yeah. Now you just go with 24 and it's fine. It adjusts with you. And like, that was, in my opinion, that was the best thing that they could have ever added to raiding. And then just the mechanics and, the visuals when you're trying to like know what to do, they're actually getting pretty good at making sure this is a soak mechanic, this is a don't stand here mechanic. Right. I think raiding has come a long way, and it's a lot of fun.
Now, this is all what I hear because I don't really experience a lot of this, but do you feel like the social part of that has declined while all of those improvements to raid have come? Because it sounds like people sort of decry less social organization, less engagement, and more LFRs and random people and all of that? Have you seen that, or is not your experience?
Well, in my experience, there has been a de-emphasis on socialization through in-game means, where, like in my guild, like no one uses guild chat. Like hardly ever. Like if you look at the logs, it goes weeks before anyone says anything sometimes, because we all just use the guild Discord, right? So I would say that's the big advent for socialization and things like that is Discord. So we used to literally have, like, my original guild, we actually had a guild forum where we'd post on forum links and things where that's where we'd have conversations outside of the game. So just Discord was a big leap forward from, TeamSpeak to Vent to Mumble and now we have Discord. And honestly, Discord has made being able to take breaks from the game a lot more easy to stay intact with, what's going on in the game. And if anyone wants to do anything, like we have a looking for group channel and you can ping anyone saying, hey, we're looking for melee, or we're looking for DPS or something like that for a dungeon or something like that. So I would say if you use the tools that are available to you now, the socialization is actually a lot better than it used to be, because previously we either had to use a junky forum or you had to be in game.
Right.
So now it's just we're all friends. Like we met up for BlizzCon this last 2023. Yeah, 2023 BlizzCon. We all met up for that. That was a lot of fun, and we even had a little meetup. We just did like a guild meetup in 2022 because there was no BlizzCon. Yeah, because we're like, we're not doing BlizzCon this year. We're like, okay, so we all just did a guild meetup, and So honestly, I think the socialization has gotten a lot better. But
that's interesting. You say that, and I had two thoughts, and I'll probably forget one as soon as I start first one. So the first one is I hadn't really thought of that. The fact that if everything is in game as it was, at least in the beginning, it really is all or nothing. If you're not in game, if you do take that 6-month break, people are going to move on without you. So Discord does, we're hanging out on Discord right now, and we don't have to be in the game. And you can, like you said, I'm taking the last 6 months of an expansion off because whatever, I want to do other stuff. And yet you don't lose those friends. You don't lose those connections. That's really cool. The other thing your comments made me think is that Blizzard really relies a lot on outside tech to keep this game, I would say, keep it moving forward, both on that social aspect of, our social stuff really kind of stinks, and then we added communities that no one gave a crap about and whatever, but also just the massive add-on industry of, hey, here's all of these people who can make this game better. Well, let's just let them do it. And once in a while, we'll cherry pick a few things and kind of bring that tech in. But Blizzard really, for the massive operation they are and how great the game is, they really are furthered by outside technology.
Yeah, I honestly think the staying power and the longevity of the game has been the fact that they allowed add-ons and they allowed for modifications to the game. Because, like, if I couldn't have any add-ons, for one, raid encounters would be a whole lot more difficult. Like that's for sure. And then keeping track of all of the different cooldowns that we have to keep track of and everything like that. I mean, I will admit, a lot of Dragonflight brought in a lot of the stuff that the add-on community allowed, where there's a lot more customization. But obviously, there's still not nearly as much customization available in the base UI that you can do with an LV UI or something else like that, where it just completely reskins the whole game. So, without the add-ons, I really think the game probably would have gone the way of WildStar or something else back in the day. Because the add-on community is it's impressive. And they have there's always been a fun push and pull between the high-end rating community with that and the add-on developers and Blizzard.
Yep.
Right, because I remember back in Wrath, there was an add-on where you could literally just draw onto the world, people drawing dicks and things like in the world. And so if you had the add-on, you'd see giant spray paints of whatever wanted to be put there. And Blizzard was like, okay, that's not that. We don't want to do that. So they broke that add-on. Basically, they injected some code that just can't do that.
Please tell me it was called graffiti.
It was. I think it was like, I don't remember the name of it, but it was something like that. But people were actually using it where like they would draw safe sections where it's like, all right, we're all going to go here. We're going to go here. You know, they've taken a lot of the stuff from those add-on developers where it's like, oh, you can do this, you can put it here. And added it like just recently, the ping system where they added that in. Where it's like, oh, you can ping over here and do that kind of stuff. So they usually, I'm not going to say they usually try and compensate some way without just pulling the rug out from under the community. But sometimes it's like, no, sorry, we're not going to let you do that.
I checked the ping system before we get on, and there were no dicks in it. So
no,
they did not fully compensate for that.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I feel like either it would have forced Blizzard to innovate more to meet player demand, which on some level probably would have failed, or you're right, the game would have just shriveled up because the people complaining would just leave. But now you have the situation with that open API that the people who complain the loudest and know things can go like work to solve those problems. So it's almost like the community has a hand in keeping this game as successful as it has been.
Oh yeah, it definitely does.
Well, that's kind of fun, right?
I mean, they rely on the community for a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like they can test a lot, but they're not going to come nearly as much testing as the PTR will give them.
Sure.
And they're like, oh, you want to see what's coming early? Here, take a look at the PTR. And we're most of the time, I'm like, I'm not logging into the PTR. Right. I got time for that.
Yeah,
I'm not going to play something that I got to do again as soon as it goes live. Like, it's silly.
I logged into the beta for the first time. I'd never been in a beta, but like a week ago. And then I got to a point, I'm like, well, I don't want to know what happens.
I
haven't
even logged into the beta. I logged into the alpha because I had access to the alpha, and I was just dinking around in delves because I'm like, I'm not going to spoil any stories in here. So delves are cool, by the way, if you didn't know. They're actually a lot of fun.
I can't wait.
So, good news for solo players. They actually are a ton of fun.
Yeah. I'm excited. Like literally, and I know you've heard it and I've said it on the podcast before, but that BlizzCon 2023, when they started talking to solo players, that's when if I hadn't fully decided that I was going to stick with WoW after all of the employee stuff and the harassment stuff, that was definitely for me. Aside from that stuff, as a solo player, I was like, okay, they're actually talking to me, and it looks like they're going to offer some stuff that's going to keep me in this game, and I can maybe pretend a little less hard that this is a single player game, or that I'm just going about my business, and I'm excited about that. So yeah. What when you are not raiding, when you are just alone, what pulls you into the game? What do you like to do?
Usually it's just a story. I will go through and I play through all the story content. I make sure I'm playing through everything and know what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I will admit, I think delves are going to pull me back in because the things that have always drawn me in are those single player experiences that are challenging. For example, the Mage Tower was some of the most fun I've ever had. Another good example was not once did I ever do a horrific vision with someone else. I always did it solo, and I completely cleared out the horrific visions with 5 masks and everything. I managed to do it all. So whenever I'm presented a very difficult challenge, that's what pulls me in. Is I like doing that stuff. So when I found out that there might be a quote unquote 13th delve for clearing all 12 of the delves on the most difficult difficulty, I'm like, oh, I'm doing that. That's going to be amazing.
It's on the list. Do you feel like, having seen that sort of content, do you feel like and having played Delves, do you feel like they are the maybe not the culmination, but the product of all of the learning and the misfires and the, whatever you want to call Torghast, whatever you want to call some of the other iterations on solo or small group content? Do you feel like Delves really are a pretty refined version of that?
Yeah, I do. And that's mostly because when you look at the kind of like I'll use the Great Vault as an example.
Yeah.
And this is not even my original thought. This is just something that I kind of like agreed with when this was said. This was from a podcast a long time ago called Azeroth Roundtable. And they specifically mentioned, like, look, I don't raid anymore. I don't like PvPing.
Yeah.
Right. And Mythic Plus can straight to jail. Like, no, thank you. Not for me.
Yeah.
So they're like, look, like, this is the game telling me I need to either raid, which I don't do, play Mythic Plus, or do PvP to be rewarded at the end of the week, saying, good job. That was a week well done. Here is your reward. He's like, I don't get anything out of that. So why would I do that? It's Blizzard is telling me I need to play the game this way, or else I'm doing it wrong. But at least that was his take on it. So I was like, that's actually a good point.
Is that
That's
John?
a good point. Yeah. John Jagger. Yeah. You still hear him on Core.
That's right. And he's not wrong, because you're right. I've never opened a single Great Vault. I don't do any of those activities. And it's interesting. I didn't think to take offense to that, but I could, because you're right. Mm-hmm. Like, these are the big pillars of the game. Do these, or you're going to fall further behind. And as much as I don't do dungeons competitively, and now thank goodness I can do follower dungeons, I'm not raiding, I still want like my eye level to go up. I still want good rewards.
It speeds things up.
Yeah, right? I want the outdoor content to be easier, not just a slog all the way to the end. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm really excited that, I assume by September 7th, 8th, whenever the first Great Vault opens, I might have something to for Christmas. Santa finally comes to the solo queue.
Yeah, so I mean, like, to answer, do I think is it the culmination of all of their missteps along the way? It does feel that way, because they are finally taking the mistakes from Torghast, for example. Torghast is a great example of when it was released on the beta or the alpha. I was playing it at the time because I was just like, okay, this is Torghast. I'm just like, this isn't a story element. I'm not going to spoil myself just running through Torghast. And it was a ton of fun, like, because you just got more and more ridiculously powerful. It's kind of like people are in Remix right now. You just get more and more ridiculously powerful as time goes on, and you're just like doing like 1 million DPS or just like ridiculous crap. So you could just keep climbing and climbing. But the problem was like it wasn't fun forever. I mean, you can't do it all the time. You're just like, eventually you're like, I'm done for that. I don't need to do that. But then they did this horrible idea of they tied a reward specifically tied to a legendary that if you're raiding, you have to do. Yeah. Like it's a requirement. So you're like, gotta get Mystigia. Shit. Like, it wasn't fun anymore. Like, and another great example is Island Expeditions. It's like, oh, check out this great new thing. It's an amazing thing. And then they tied it to, this is the most efficient way to gather Azerite. And guess what I did? I just didn't do it. I just like, this is dumb. This is literally just running around killing mobs and collecting crap. And you say your AI is better, but your AI is garbage. Like, I just wiped the floor with them without even thinking.
So if that's the proper way to do the expansion, and you're not going to do it, you then fall behind. And I know for me, as soon as I start to fall behind, I lose interest. Like, okay, great. I guess I'll be behind and you guys have fun, and I'll be back in a year when the next expansion comes out. Like, that kind of bums me out. Or, I don't necessarily leave the game, but I just go off and do, old farming content or whatever. And the game doesn't feel super fresh. I mean, I like that part of the game, but I do feel like an outsider. And I guess I'm looking forward to this fall being feeling like, oh no, I can still be a part of it, even though I'm not doing all of those activities, those 3 pillar activities.
Yeah, well, the nice thing is that Delves is now becoming one of the pillars, and PvP is just, they're like, okay, we're just going to put PvP over here in a corner with the PvPers, and they'll like it. Like that, because we don't need to muddy up and put it in the Great Vault where this is your world content of, raiding dungeons and now Delves, which I think is great because, number one, the rewards you're getting from Delves can be gotten elsewhere. It's just, it's good loot that you can get directly from raid drops or from your own Great Vault. You can do it from running dungeons, or you can do it from running Delves. Honestly, the only way that, they might shoot themselves in the foot is if they create like some amazing trinket that everyone feels like they're like, oh crap, I gotta go to Delve because it comes from that loot table, and it's like so. What I'm saying is, I don't know what the loot table is going to be in Delves, but if it's roughly similar to like the mythic dungeons or the, I don't really care about the eye level, but as long as you're getting rewarded for the effort that you're putting in, and it's on par, like it's not a requirement of, oh, that's how you get your legendary, or well, that's how you power up your Heart of Azeroth. That's no thank you. Yeah, like because there's plenty of weeks where I just don't log in. Yeah, there's lots of weeks where I'm like, I'm too busy. So I don't feel like I'm missing anything out, but when I do play, I can just play a Delve and be good because, and honestly, one of the main reasons why I am almost entirely a solo player outside of raids is, well, most of my guild is on the East Coast, and so I just play at different times, like it's midnight or 1 a.m. when it's like 9 or 10 for me, and I'm just just about winding down at the end of the day.
Yeah. So that must make it hard. Yeah. That's the benefit of not having friends.
I don't feel left out. It's fine. I'm so introverted that I'm like, nah, I'm good by myself. Like, because I have to talk all day at work, so I have to then talk to people like outside of a raid setting because I only raid once a week, which is nice. Most people are like, oh, I raid like twice or 3 times a week. No, once is good enough. It's like, that's my bowling league once a week.
How common do you think it is to be an introvert in the content creation world?
I think it is very common for introverts to be content creators. And the reason why is, oh, look, I'm being very social to talk to you. Yeah, but it's through glass.
3,000 miles away right now.
It's a little different. Yeah. Like, for example, if I'm just, I am nice and safe. So if you get mad at me, the worst thing you're going to do is say, well, Jen's an asshole. And say it on the podcast or hang up on me. Yeah. But I don't, in the real world, someone might, I don't know, like throw a milkshake on me or something. I don't know. That happened to me once.
Are you that famous? You've got the milkshake? Yeah.
No, that was in high school. It was because it was high school.
Yeah. That's fame is not the reason there.
No.
As a high school teacher, I can tell you not to look for logic in places where logic has no reign.
Yeah, no, like it's fine. Girl's mad for whatever reason, and I got the milkshake.
There you go.
It was only on my hoodie though. I just took it off. Whatever.
There you go. It's funny. Teachers are often introverts too. A lot of the people I work with, as much as you think, oh, you're standing in front of a bunch of people and talking and teaching, like that's almost
if you're just lecturing, that's not super.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not super social.
It's a lot of interacting. It's a lot of, and I also coach, and that's its own thing. But at the end of the day, like I'm still like that's a persona almost. It's almost like a mask I have to put on, but it's not my natural. If left to my own devices, I think I'd kind of be right where I am right now, safely behind 3 monitors and a microphone. And yeah, it's interesting. I found that it's easier to talk into the microphone and to get stuff out there than it would be to get up and give a speech or to meaningfully interact at a party or so. Oh yeah.
I've never felt so lonely than at a giant party, right? I'm the person sitting on the couch going like, nope. Yeah. Like I'm the one like playing with the dog or something like that. Like,
Is your wife extroverted?
No, we're both introverts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My wife is an extrovert, so we have an interesting thing going on. Yes, yin and yang, and it works.
Oh yeah, it could totally work. But in this case, we're both like, you want to go home? Yeah, we're going home. Let's get out of here. This place sucks.
Yep. So when you started making podcasts, what was it that sort of made you want to push that record button and put yourself out there?
The funny story that I'd like to tell is it was basically at BlizzCon one year. I used to go to BlizzCon because, it's not that hard for me to get to BlizzCon. You just got to get the tickets, and you would drive down there. My first BlizzCon, I literally just drove by myself. Speaking of introvert, I just went to BlizzCon by myself. Didn't know anyone. I just went. And
oh yeah.
The funny thing is too, I drove back the 6 hours at when the music number started or whatever, like 6 p.m. or whatever. I was like, all right, I'm out, and I drove home from there. So I don't even remember what the musical act was. I clearly didn't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what happened is me and a bunch of coworkers, because a bunch of us started playing WoW and things like that, right around the Mist time frame, and they're just asking questions about the lore and things like that, and I realized that I could ramble because I've been playing since the 5th grade, and I usually play games before the story, and I used to flip through the user manuals and read all the little backstory and stuff like that was hidden in there.
Yep.
And I just was able to just ramble on for 2.5 hours because they're like, I think someone just randomly asked the question, well, what actually happened, in the beginning? How did this happen? And I was like, oh, here we go. Let's get into it. And I just started rambling. I was like, I think I could do this. Yeah. So that was kind of the birth of it. Was at BlizzCon, someone asked me what the story was, and I just, you had a couple beers in me at the time. You couldn't shut me up. Yep. It was like ADHD hyperfixation, basically. I was like, nope, you're just going to sit here and take it. You asked the question. I don't care if you get up and walk away.
So do you like history? Did you like history classes growing up, going through school? Or is this different enough? I
did enjoy history classes, kinda. The problem with history classes when I was going through history is they're like, here's some names and dates, remember those. I was like, why do I care about that?
Yeah. That is literally
it's a random year.
Don't teach. That is like my guiding principle because I hate those classes.
So when I found out the actual story, there's an actual story and everything going on, I'm actually kind of an obnoxious history buff now. Not that I know everything. I like learning about it. I do not listen to just World of Warcraft podcasts. I listen to hardcore history, I listen to that and a whole bunch of other things. And I enjoy learning about history quite a bit. In fact, right there on the bookshelf is Reaganland that I'm also reading right now. So I'm a bit of a history nerd, and I like learning about all that stuff because it's one of those things where I always have to know, how did we get here? Yeah. And the fun thing is if you follow the through line, you can go, oh. So speaking of Through Line, that's another great history podcast I like listening to. Through Line by NPR.
Yep.
That's a really good
one. I find the whole lore aspect, I realized I was like, wow, I should maybe change my resume to IRL lore master since I teach high school history. Why not?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know how that'll get me another job, but hopefully I don't need another job. I guess if it did, that would mean those people are probably Warcraft people. Maybe
or
that
just,
would be
just story nerds in general.
Yeah. Do you like lore? I was thinking of this the other day. I was like, wow, it feels like people use lore in two ways. One, to just talk about what happened and explain what happened, or they use lore to sort of feed into what's coming, predicting, like almost the reporting history versus the prediction, educated guess versions of lore. Do you have a preference? Do you use both? How does it play into your podcast now?
Yeah, I would definitely. I would say I kind of use them kind of interchangeably because I like learning about what all the backstory was, right? Like, what are all the events that took place in the yesteryear and how we got here and what built up to that is, and all of like one of my favorite things in the game right now is whenever there's new books found in the game. Like that's the kind of stuff that I get excited about because it's these little hints basically of what's to come. And they've been doing a really good job of seeding those little lore books with what's to come. And I like trying to figure out the hints because since I do know so much of the backstory, you can kind of like piece it together and see where it all fits. And I don't know. But yeah, I do think it's funny that a lot of people use the lore and story interchangeably. And I'm like, well, I mean, like you can if you want, but it's
right.
They are two technically different terms. So,
right.
But I never nitpick about that because like that's just being pedantic and lame. So
right. It's almost like you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. And I feel like some people, and maybe even some podcasts or other content people don't do that. Like they're quickly critical of story holes or, I don't know, shortcuts or what have you, instead of taking that half step of, no, I'm here for the ride. I know that there's a real world behind this, that there's a bunch of writers and sometimes they leave and sometimes new people come and some people are jerks and, all the various things that have been in the news the last few years. That said, what's wrong with just suspending your disbelief, getting on with the ride and not sort of picking every single little flaw? I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like if you take that half step, it's pretty interesting and almost impressive how much the story does flow within the universe. Like you're right, the lore and the universe are kind of the boundaries, and then the story has to fit inside of that. And I feel like they've done a pretty good job. I don't know how the process works. I don't know how far out, plot points are picked. I know we're seeing a little bit of that given that we've got the next 3 expansions coming, but before that, how far ahead do they know these plot points? And I feel like they've done pretty well putting these things inside of the universe in a believable way if you're willing to give them a little bit. Would you agree with that, or do you have some thoughts on that?
I do, because I'm one of those people that I wouldn't say I frequent Reddit, but I do like to look at Reddit from time to time and see what people are talking about, like in the Warcraft lore subreddit. Yeah. And one of the things that people like to get all up in arms about is retcons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I will admit, when they completely omitted Medan from the story and literally made a joke about Medan 404, and there is no 404 page 404 in Warcraft Chronicles Volume 3. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, that's a retcon where they literally retroactively changed the continuity. They're like, no, that's not what happened. That it's not that I disagree. Medan was a bit of a weird character, but other times people are like, oh, that's retcon. That's a retcon. I'm like, actually, no, that's just additional information about the story. There was big gaps in time that we had no idea what happened. So this is just telling us what happened in that time frame, because I know there was a lot of people talking about how the Incarnates was a retcon. I'm like, no, they're not. No. I mean, it's not really. It's just, like I said, there's huge gaps of time because everyone's like, oh, well, there was the War of the Ancients and then the First War. I'm like, okay, that's 10,000 years apart. You got lots of time to just, well, that happened that year. Oh, that happened that. You have 10,000 different years that you could choose from that something happened. So,
Yeah.
I don't know why people get so up in arms. Oh, it's a retcon. Well, yeah, there's always going to be retcons if you're considering that a retcon. It's just like, so,
Right.
well, you know, there's this guy named Lei Shin. I'm like, yeah, the pandas weren't like a playable race in Pandaria. And then they introduced a story where this guy named Lei Shin, you know, conquered all of Pandaria and, you know, enslaved the Pandaren. And, then he made a deal with the Zandalari, and then the Zandalari, well, the Zandalari are still here. So they're like, well, maybe we could get our land back, right? They just made all that up for Miss Pandarian. It was a great story. So I'm here for it.
I feel like sometimes people forget that it's all made up.
Yeah.
This isn't like American history where people are picking and choosing and changing and retconning and what, like, no. This is all made up. And
100%, top to bottom.
Yeah, just
That's actually real.
just enjoy. Like, I don't know, just enjoy.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun story, and you don't have to take it so seriously. That's probably why I do the podcast the way I do it, because I am incapable of taking this seriously. Like, there are serious moments where I'm like, okay, well, this is a bad point. Like, especially like, you know, there's storylines and things like that where just like pretty horrific things happen. So you're like, well, I'm not going to make jokes about this.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's all made up. It's not real. Like, that didn't really happen to Alex Straza because Alex Straza doesn't exist.
Right. So. You know, you say that, and I realize one of the things I really like about Live, Laugh, Lore is that a lot of times you guys are kind of silly and jokey and having fun. And I know part of your persona is utilizing a lot of, you know, sort of voices and affects and bringing that fun. But in a recent episode or two, everything got a little bit serious. And I think you were talking about one of the short stories, and it is okay to be like, to pick and choose those moments and feel the emotions of it and let it take you on that ride. I think that's a pretty special thing that we get in essentially a giant video game.
Yeah, I mean, it's only happened once. But one of the books, actually, Christy Golden did manage to actually get me to cry one time, just in the way she was describing a scene. I was like, oh my God, this is heartbreaking. So it's because you suspend your disbelief, pretend that Anduin's a real character, and he really is distraught over the loss of this, you know, dwarven girl or dwarven woman named, I think her name was Erin. Yeah. It was just like a weird spelling of Erin. And it was in the book, The Shattering, by the way. There was like the shattering, a big earthquake had happened, and like a building collapsed on top of her. And it was a horrible scene. And just that scene right there, I was like, Anduin, no! It was terrible. Like, it was so sad. Like, I don't know. I think part of it too is I hadn't read The Shattering. And that's not like a big lore moment that people talk about in podcasts. So I wasn't desensitized to it. Right. Like, I had already known all the story, for example, of in Tides of War, when what happened with Jaina and for example, Kyndi Sparkshine.
That's what it was that you guys had me cheering up.
Yeah, like Kyndi is a horribly gut-wrenching story, but since I already knew the story, like she didn't get me that time. She came close, but she didn't get me. But since it was like this character, I didn't know anything, right? She was just this awesome little dwarf that was helping Anduin learn how to fight. And nope.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this sucks. Yeah. So, yeah, they got me. Yeah, this little silly story can actually be, Christy Golden can take this story and still drive home some really good emotion. So.
Yeah. I have a goblin mage in Classic named Kyndi. Because why not?
Yeah, why not?
What's a non-obvious trait that you feel like you need to be successful in content creation? What's something? Obviously, you need a good voice and some presence, but what's something behind the scenes that you feel like is important to doing this well?
I would say, in my personal opinion, and I'm not saying this is true for everyone. Everyone follows their own path. But at least for me and my, I don't know, personal philosophies is you have to have a pretty decent work ethic almost, right? Like you think podcasting is just, I'm just going to sit down and babble on. And like, no one's going to listen to that podcast. Right? No one's going to listen to you just ramble on about you don't know what. I mean, maybe you would if you're Joe Rogan and you ramble on with celebrities, but whatever. Right. I don't listen to that garbage. But anyway, I would say you have to be able to stay consistent, right? The consistency is really key. And it's not easy. It's not always easy to stick to a weekly or even a bi-weekly schedule or even a monthly schedule. Like life happens, and you're like, shit, I gotta read a short story and I gotta write some notes, and there's a lot more work that goes on in the background than people often don't realize. So there's a reason why there's a lot of pod fading that happens, because life happens and people don't realize how much work it actually is to create a podcast.
Can you please remind my wife that this is a job I'm doing? She's upstairs. If you could just run upstairs real quick.
Yeah, I'll do a quick 3,000-mile jog. Be like, hey, this is a job. It's serious business.
So tell me about working with Allie. Tell me about your co-host on Live, Laugh, Lore.
Yeah, so that came about for two reasons. Allie is one of the nicest people and is always supportive, and one of the people in the community that is just always a positive presence for like, hey, I hear your stuff, like, you know, like you're doing good. Like she shows that kind of stuff. So when I first started, she had just started doing Dungeon Fables about 6 months before me. So she's been a podcaster 6 months longer than me. Mm-hmm. And she was doing Dungeon Fables, which was, like you kind of briefly mentioned, a solo show. And I was doing Morley Gray. And what those shows had in common is I was doing the lore in chronological order from beginning to the end, right? So I wasn't talking about current events. Mm-hmm. Like, that never came up. And Allie was doing the dungeons from classic all the way to the end. And again, not talking about current events. We're just talking about old nostalgia kind of stuff. So I reached out to her and was like, hey, you want to talk about current events? Because I kind of want to talk about current events. And so she said, like, absolutely, I would like to do that. And the reason I was okay asking her is because she was the first person that reached out to me when I actually posted the episode. Like, we were both in another podcast Discord, and I threw it up there in the like share your stuff channel, and I was like, hey everybody, check out this podcast today. This unknown guy named after an alcohol that he doesn't even really like that much.
If you could change your name to another alcohol, what would it be? This is your chance right here.
I don't even drink right now, so I don't know.
Tonic? You going?
Yeah, there you go. Protein shake. I don't know.
There you go. Doesn't roll off the tongue.
I literally have one right here next to me. But yeah, I mean, working with Allie's great. She is a very positive person. She's always fun to hang around. Got to meet up with her a couple times. We went to a concert together. So yeah, she's great.
And you guys are a time zone apart, right? She's in Colorado.
Yeah, she's in Mountain Time.
California. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How often
it's only
do you
an hour
guys?
Difference. It's not that bad.
Yeah. How often do you guys get together IRL?
Not that often, but I mean, it's been over the course of the 3-4 years, however many years it's been going on. Yeah. I think we've met up about 4, maybe 5 times, because it was BlizzCon twice. We met up for BlizzCon. Then I got to meet up with her when we went out to Colorado for a concert. Because I'd always wanted to go to a concert at the Red Rock, and that's right next to her. So, we bought tickets for them, and I was like, here, you guys can here. This is your birthday present kind of thing. And we're just going to show up and we're going to go to a concert with you guys. So that was awesome.
Nice.
And then just recently she was out here in San Francisco, and she drove out and met up with myself and Berserker. So yeah, about 4 times. So not all we don't get to see each other all that often, but IRL, but it's happened. It's happened. It's always a good time when it does happen, though.
Yeah. You've been around the scene for a while. Do you feel like podcasting is sort of slipping away a little bit in lieu of maybe other avenues of content? And are you a traitor to the podcasting world?
Am I a traitor?
Are you the reason for its demise?
No, I am certainly not a traitor. To be perfectly honest, I've been, because I know podcasting as a form, as a whatever, is certainly not dead. Like, yeah, and it is not dying. It's not slipping away. It does seem like Warcraft podcasts are at least on the. I'm not saying like we're all for going away or something like that, but it does seem like it's on the way out-ish.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, we're on a downswing. Right, maybe there'll be an upswing later, but yeah, like right now, I would like, back in the day, it felt like there was at least 3 or 4 what I would consider like top echelon podcasts. Mm-hmm. That was like the Instance, Convert to Raid, and then like the Starting Zone. Yeah. Now it's just the Starting Zone that's left that has like the top tier. Yeah. I mean, there was that podcast Titan Forged, I think, that had a really good following, but that's just Mythic Plus content. So I was like, not for me. Not for me. I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm doing it on such a niche topic too that, I mean, who knows? But at the same time, telling people that you have a podcast it's challenging. Like, it's not easy to promote yourself and let the world know that, hey, would you like to listen to this thing? Especially as an introvert, I always feel like I'm bothering people. So
I know.
You listen to this thing that I know that you as my family member, I know for a fact that since you don't play the game, why would I even tell? Never mind. I'm not telling you.
Yeah. Forget what I said.
Never mind. Well, please don't follow me on Twitter either. Don't. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel now, but don't do that either. Like, they're like, oh, why? Because you'd be bored out of your mind. Like, you don't care.
Yeah. Well, tell us about Jin's Joint. Tell us how the YouTube venture is going. What are you trying to do, and how are you feeling about it?
A big thing for me is I had a dream back in like 2017, 2018 to do a podcast where I took the story and ran with it and just told the whole story from beginning to end. I mean, obviously that's kind of impossible since I just keep telling more story, but you know, eventually you can catch up to now. Yeah, exactly. They're like, crap. Now I go back and say, I guess this is episode 4.5. It was made like 5 years after episode 4, but they slotted something in between. But the main reason why I wanted to do it is, you know, I set out to tell a little story, and for, you know, differences in opinions and conflict of interests between the hosts, that show went the way of the dodo, I suppose. And I always kind of wanted to bring it back and just finish telling the story. And YouTube was the only way that I felt comfortable doing a solo production. Yeah. And the other reason is I don't want to say I've mastered podcasting by any means, because I certainly haven't. I've seen my numbers. I have not mastered podcasting. But the creation of a podcast, the actual sitting down, the doing the recording, doing the edits. Sure. It's not a challenge anymore. Yeah. So that was the other big thing for me, is video creation. That's a whole nother ball of wax that I was unaware of, the little ins and outs of the little things that I have to keep in mind. And so I'm learning. It's a learning process. So how's it going? It's going okay. All right. Yeah. It's definitely taken off faster than I thought it would, but it's not like I'm like, I'm the next TLES. No, not. I'm not the next Bellular. I'm not dethroning Novel anytime soon. Like, they literally have thousands upon thousands of times the amount of followers and subscribers that I have. I think I'm like at 120 or something. I'm like, woo! I'm taking off. Every single time my wife looks at the numbers and she's like, oh, look, you're up to like 120 or something like that. I'm like, we're blowing up. We're blowing up, babe.
It's nice that we can all carve our little corners of the content world.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's fun. I think I just recently today just dialed in the look of the video finally, because the first 3 videos were the same and I wasn't super happy with it. Then I did the 4th one. I didn't like that either. So I think I finally got it to a point where I'm like, okay, no, this is good. I like this. This is good. So the 5th episode will definitely look different, and it should be a lot more like, oh, this looks like a YouTube video. This is actually what I was kind of expecting you to look like, Jen. So at least that's what I'm hoping.
You're finding your visual voice.
Yeah. It's certainly a challenge to do, because I had no clue how to do any kind of solo stuff without sounding like I'm just reading a script.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm like, hey, everybody, this is Jim. You want to learn the lore? Geez. Like I embarrass myself because I'm talking to myself, and my wife's in the other room and she can hear me just blah, blah, blah. She knows I'm not talking to anyone. I'm like,
yep.
Oh, this is so awkward. Oh my God. It's like, at least when I'm doing a podcast, she knows I'm talking to someone and having a conversation. But
right
when I'm recording a YouTube video, that's all there is. It's just me babbling on. And she's probably like, the funny thing is too, is my wife's always complaining because she's like, you've been doing this for so long, I'm beginning to know the story, and she does not play. And my favorite thing is when she goes, if I hear the name Arthas one more time,
I'm going to head to Ice Crown and sit and kill him.
It's the best.
Do you see this going a good distance? Is the plan to just kind of keep it up indefinitely, or is there a finite plan?
No, I don't really have any plans of when or where I would stop or anything like that. But
do it and have fun.
Yeah, it's all for fun for me. Like I'm not trying to make a career out of it. That's for sure. I have a day job, so I will keep doing that day job.
Yeah.
Unless I suddenly get like 3 million followers, which that's not going to happen. I don't think there's that many people in the Warcraft community, so no. No.
You seem to like challenges, and clearly one of the challenges you embrace in your life is distance running.
I do.
Not the most common, stereotypical Warcraft alternate hobby. How do those two things fit together? How does that interact in your life?
Well, I've always been a pretty active person. Like in high school, I always did at least one sport. Like first 2 years, I tried out football. It wasn't really for me. And then I really kind of fell in love with wrestling during high school because there was it was much more of a sense of accomplishment if I won, because again, solo player, right? That was all on you. Yeah. Yes, there are technically team sports and things like that, but whether you win or lose a match, that's 100% on you. There is no tag teams. You can't tag anybody.
Not in high school.
No. So I guess it was, and after high school, I joined the military. So I was in the military for 4 years, and you got to be physically active there, and then after I got out, I actually ran a marathon. My first marathon was my last year in the Marines. And I did okay. I did pretty good.
Sub 4 hours. Yeah.
It was my first one was 4.5 hours basically. Okay. So 4.5. It wasn't bad. It's actually pretty average time especially for a first timer that has no idea what they're doing. Yeah, I didn't have any hydration. I didn't have any fuel or nothing. So yeah, it did not.
How was mile 22 and 23?
Walking. That's what those were, walking back. Yeah. But I think what kind of happened is, well, I'll just put it bluntly. It was COVID that happened. And me and my wife, we just decided one day that we wanted to get in better shape. We were kind of tired of just being sad and stuck in the house. So at least getting outside and running was a way to get some fresh air, stop just sitting on the couch and looking at the infection rates and things like that every day. So they were like, let's take our mind off of it. And my wife never stopped exercising and things like that, but we definitely stepped it up a lot more when we decided to do this. We actually originally started this whole kind of journey when we found out about the whole 75 hard challenge, and we're like, we could do that, and we did. We totally, we breezed by that thing. Well, it wasn't like a breeze, but we definitely finished it.
Yeah.
Never had to do that weird restart thing. I don't understand how people set their minds to do something and then they fail.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, both of us, we started running. We both signed up to do a half marathon. We did a half marathon together, and even that first half marathon, I still didn't really know what I was doing because I got dehydrated real early on. I got a horrible cramp in my leg on mile 1 and just ran the rest of the way and was limping for a week and a half after that. Hydration is important, everyone. So make sure you've got plenty of electrolytes before you start running as well as while you're running.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no water station on mile 1 usually at the marathons.
No, there's not.
That one's on you.
Yeah, at least till mile 3. But I don't know. I enjoyed it so much, and I remember running a marathon, and I remember telling myself I would never do it again. But then I was like, yeah, but I didn't know what I was doing, right? I can actually
You did this better.
Yeah, I could do this way better. So I signed up for our local marathon, the CIM, with the shirt I'm wearing actually right now. So the California International Marathon, signed up for that. And I decided that I was like, I'm going to go ahead and sign up for a training plan too, because I don't know how to build a training plan. So I'm just going to go ahead and let them build a training plan for me, because they had a virtual option, especially because this is kind of during COVID. 2021, I believe, when I was doing that. No, that would have been 2022. Yeah, December 2022 was my first full marathon. So yeah, I started running to get ready for that, and my biggest goal was to beat my last time. But I kind of always had a goal in the back of my mind to eventually qualify for Boston. And at my age, I need to finish a marathon in 3 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I finished my first marathon in 3 hours and 7 minutes. And I did so well that I'm like, yeah, I think I could definitely do this. I just need to work on it. Next 2 marathons was not as good. But a lot of that was real life stuff getting in the way, because I was traveling a ton for work that year, and it was hard getting all my training, my runs and everything like that while I was on the road. But so that's fine. But now I'm looking forward to running in the Chicago Marathon this October. So yeah, excellent. That was the great thing. The fact that I had that 3:07 time. Yeah. It meant that because the Chicago Marathon is a little bit easier to get into for a guaranteed spot. So because of that 3:07, I was able to get a guaranteed entry, and I'm all accepted.
Excellent. Way to go.
Yeah. So and then now my main goal is, I better freaking qualify for Boston this time, because if I don't, means that they're going to nerf it on me, and then I got to finish it in 3 hours and 10 minutes next year.
That's right.
So I got to freaking get this BQ, that Boston qualifier, before the nerf. Damn it!
Chicago should be fairly flat, right?
Yeah. Chicago is it's probably. I think that's the the number one
Boston qualifier
course for qualifying for Boston. The second one actually is the California National Marathon, because that's actually a net negative in terms of elevation, because it's point to point. So you start in Folsom and you end at the Capitol in Sacramento. Chicago is just a big loop through the city, and it's just flat, right?
Yeah,
it's just flat. So it's a nice and easy flat course.
Oh, you're gonna love Heartbreak Hill.
For Boston? Yeah, if I ever make it to Boston.
I might even come watch you. It's not fast, less than 2 hours from my house to Heartbreak Hill, so that might be fun.
well, when I ran the Portland Marathon, they had a pretty similar hill. They had the infamous mile 22 hill in Portland, and God, that would piss me off. I was like, you sons of bitches, why didn't you put this here? It was awful. Yeah, I made it about halfway up that hill on mile 22 and was like, nope, we're gonna walk for a bit. We're gonna walk for a little bit. I need to take a break.
Recovery. Call it recovery. Yeah. Well, astute listeners should be able to head to the Boston Marathon qualifying stats and figure out your age. So I'll let them do that math.
Yeah. It's not very hard, since they know that it's just next year. So I'm going to be 310. So there you go.
Nerf bat is coming. I like that.
Yeah, they're going to nerf it on me. I got to, that's the thing. Back in the day when you knew a nerf was coming, you always wanted to finish the boss pre-nerf. It was like a sense of pride. So yeah, I want to do it pre-nerf.
There you go. I
know I'll make it to Boston eventually, but I want to do it
when you're 90.
I want to do it now. I don't want to do it when I'm 65 and it's like 3.5 hours.
Right. All right. It's time for the lightning round.
All right.
Lightning round is a series of rapid fire questions, short answers from you, and I fight the urge to then follow up and make each one into its own discussion. So which I'm very bad at. We're one podcast into the interview, so I'm already bad at it. Answer these however you like. PvP.
Not anymore. That's my answer.
Auction house.
No. It's a tool. I use it.
Brutosaur.
What? I ain't got that much gold.
Has Classic run its course?
In my opinion, yeah. They should have stopped the wrath.
Yep. I think you're not alone in that. Hey, so far I'm doing really well at not continuing these. I just want to note for everyone, I'm doing a good job.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. In WoW, are you a wealthy 1%er, comfortably middle class, or a pauper dancing on mailboxes for repair bills?
I'm comfortably middle class. I'm certainly not the 1%, though.
Otherwise, you'd have the Brutosaur.
Yeah.
Are you mythic, heroic, normal, LFR, or follower?
Heroic.
Ooh, I like that.
Mythic can just that's for them people that have way more time in this game than I do. So I get my AOTC and say, thank you guys. I will see you next tier.
Next mount.
Yeah, very much.
The best thing about recording with Allie every week?
Laughing our butts off constantly.
What part of content creation do you hate doing?
Ooh, that one's actually tough, because if I hated anything of it, that would be, I probably would have stopped.
Least favorite. Least favorite would, most like a chore.
Least favorite would definitely be the copious amount of notes I take. It's like my notes are like sometimes 18, 19, 20 pages long. Like, they're in depth. So it feels like I'm writing like a thesis every week sometimes.
Do you, like me, not have any clue what the word concise means? Is that a foreign language? It is to me, so.
The joke that I would always say is, I would have written you a shorter note if I had more time. Since I'm frequently having to write on a weekly, like I always have to have something ready. Like I only have so much time to drill down and make it as concise as possible, and that's the problem with this Warcraft lore. It's difficult to drill down to like the main bits without missing so much.
Sure. Yeah.
So
everything you try and explain, you then need to explain the thing that you need to explain. And
yeah, you're like, well, these people did that, and I'm like, crap. And you're probably wondering who's these people are.
Rabbit hole upon rabbit hole. All right, the last 3 questions are all related to your partner of 113 episodes. And I'm going to get the answers from her, and we're going to find out if you're right.
All right.
What is Allie's favorite food?
Her favorite food? I can't, as you can tell, I don't know off the top of my head. But one of her favorite foods I actually do know is spaghetti. She does really like spaghetti.
With meatballs or no?
Honestly, I don't know. So I'm going to probably guess no. Funny thing, I actually know her husband, Sniper Frog's favorite food is pancakes. So,
okay.
But Allie's, I'm like, I think it's spaghetti? If she doesn't say spaghetti, that's totally fine. I totally admit that I just don't know. But I
may award bonus points for the pancakes. That's pretty good.
Yeah, pancakes is his favorite food. He makes some killer pancakes.
All right. If Allie were to retire in Azeroth, where would it be?
What zone? Let me think. I don't want to hedge. I just want to give you an answer. So, my guess is going to be Grizzly Hills. It's probably where she would. I mean, there's a little bit of a Worgen tie-in there, and she likes the Worgen. Right. And the music is amazing. But I mean, I could very easily be wrong. But if I were to hedge my bets, my other 2 guesses would have been Negran, because I know she likes Negran, and the other one would have been Gilneas. But that's a little empty right now.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that. So I'm sticking with the Grizzly Hills.
All right. Hopefully these wrong answers don't break up your podcast. I'm sorry if it does.
I doubt it. I mean, I don't know.
Last one. What is Allie's favorite thing about working with you?
I don't know. I'm pretty great. So her favorite thing would be my sense of humor.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's probably her favorite thing, would be my guess. So yeah.
Specifically the humor that you put into your copious notes that you make her read.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, for sure. I do get a kick out of that sometimes.
There you go.
Yeah. There was the big pickle debacle for a while. That was because that's her least favorite food. So if you ask that, it's pickles.
That one's easy. Yes. Final thoughts. What are you excited about? The War Within? Do you feel like Warcraft's going in a good direction? How are you feeling about everything? So, like, the War Within is like, I'm excited about it, but like not necessarily as excited about just the fact that it feels like it's a re-emphasis on story at the forefront, especially with the whole World Soul Saga. Right, when they announced the World Soul Saga and talking about how we're actually going to start answering and tying up loose ends. Yeah, we're going to set the stage for the next 20 years of Warcraft. We're going to finally have this final showdown between the Void and the Light and what that may look like. So it just seems like they're doing a really good job of keeping it centered on Azeroth because, well, that's the world soul that we're talking about. Right, because I think that was one of the biggest problems with Shadowlands is it just felt so divergently different from the rest of everything else. Like it almost felt like a different game. And I'm like, what game is this? It felt like it wasn't necessarily a bad story to tell, and it not an area not worthy of exploration, but it really did just feel so off to the side, out of the flow, I guess. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so
with that reinvigoration and the kind of the stuff that they've been bringing back, and also for the longest time, my favorite character in Warcraft has been Anduin Lothar, especially since I started playing back in Warcraft 2. I was just again reading the manuals and things like that. He was like a key figure in it, right? He was the one who led the humans north when Stormwind was burnt. Right there, he basically coordinated and saved all of the refugees' lives as they went to Lordaeron. And there was I just always liked that story and how everyone was kind of leaning on this one guy to save us all from these orcs. Yeah, and I just liked it. So, and that's why I jokingly added an Anduin Lothar picture into my little YouTube setup here that I've got going.
Nice. What do I have? Oh, wait, who's behind me? What's that?
Nice. Yeah, that's the movie Anduin Lothar.
Yes.
Much younger looking than he probably actually was at the time.
Well, you got to be handsome for the movies, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. Hollywood, it's different.
Yeah.
Me and Ali actually did. I would say we did like a review of the Warcraft movie as one of our Patreon bonus. We literally just watched the movie and made fun of it as we were like, that's not correct. Nope, that's not right. No, that's not right. And then obviously the biggest glaring, that is super wrong, is the end of the movie and Stormwind's still intact. No, that place got burnt down, right? You guys evacuated. You didn't just run away from the dark portal and go, oh no, the orcs are coming.
Will they ever make another movie?
No, they never will.
That's the sense I get too, which is too bad.
Yeah, I mean, because if they made another one, they would probably have to just skip some stuff and go right into Arthas if they were to do that.
I think that would be wise.
Honestly, Warcraft would be much better served as a Netflix series or something like that. So a limited run, like a mini series back in the day.
Yep.
So, yeah, because there's way too much. There's way too much crap in there to fit it all in.
Yeah. Well, Jen, thank you for joining me today. It looks like our time in the solo queue is up for this month.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I need to get back to Pandaria to push to level 70, but what do you need to get back to doing?
Filming YouTube videos.
There you go. I'm not going to mention the mountain of editing I have to do right now. So, yeah.
Well, enjoy your edits. I know them all too well. So, yeah.
Well, I want to thank everyone who made this episode possible. My lovely and supportive wife, who is upstairs wondering when I'm coming back. The good folks at Podbean who host Solo Q, and of course, Jen. Remember that the music and voices you hear are the work of our amazing people at Blizzard. Don't play muted, or Jen is going to hunt you down.
Yeah, seriously, don't play muted. That's dumb.
The music in the intro and that's taking us out right now is by my real friends in the doom metal band OGRE. Represent. They're out there, I promise. It's a real band. If you want to support the show, even in a small way, you can head to patreon.com/soloq. Wow. Thank you to my current patrons, Andrew, Righteous Bandy, and That Sky Guy. Their contributions make this bonus episode possible, and there are more coming. So head on over and join the solo crew. Subscribe to the podcast at your podcast feed of choice, Apple, Spotify, and all the rest. As a favor to you, click subscribe. Jin was right a couple weeks ago on Live, Laugh, Lore when he said a monthly show like this can just sneak right into your regular podcast rotation, and it doesn't even have to bump anything else out, right?
Yeah, just add it in. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything. It's just like a nice little surprise. You're like, oh, sweet, it's still cute. I'm gonna check this out. Nice.
Look at that.
I'm gonna give it a nice little listen.
There you go. You've heard it here. You can contact me at soloqwow, SOLOQUEWOW @ Gmail, or Twitter, or Facebook or Instagram or Threads. I think that's it. There's a couple more, but I don't really check them much. So, if you've got stories, if you've got questions, if you've got tips on playing solo, reach out, say hello. And Jin, where can the good solo people of Azeroth find you and your work?
You can find the podcast that I do with Allie. That is over at Live Laugh Lore. You can find the show on Twitter, live_laugh_lore. I was like, wait, there's an underscore. That was confusing. And you can find me and the YouTube content that I create. I would say follow me on Twitter. You can just search at Jin's Joint. It's like, Casablanca, get it? Gin Joint, right? See? There it is. And you can find the YouTube channel. Honestly, the easiest thing to search for is Warcraft Lore 101. That's kind of like the series that I'm doing right now. I'll probably do some other videos if I decide to, eventually, if I want to talk about this one thing. But anyway, what I'm working on right now is that Warcraft Lore 101. It's the first thing that pops up. So just search that. And you'll see my silly face going like, hey, let me tell you about the lore. Yeah.
I was surprised how easy I did. I typed that and it came right up. So you've mastered the SEO. Look at you.
I don't think a lot of people are searching for Warcraft Lore 101. So.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, that's how you do it.
Well, Jin, thank you so much for coming on the show. Good luck with Jin's Joint and the new YouTube venture. Looking forward to more lessons on lore. And there's more good stuff coming in the solo queue pipeline, so stay tuned. We will see you out there.
Bye.
Warning. The following conversation is not real. So, Jin, you had a vision of the future of solo queue. What did that look like?
Blankets, just smoke where you couldn't see anything, and just it looked like some post-apocalyptic, landscape.